Good morning students. Today we are going to see the functions in C. A function is a self-contained block of statements which performs a particular task, or it can also be defined as a section of program performing a specific job. A function is written once and called any number of times. Function, when it is called, the control will be transferred from the called function or location to the statements inside the function definition and executes those statements until the written statement is encountered or a function terminates. So what are the various advantages of using functions are the functions will make the programs significantly easier to understand and maintain by breaking up a program into smaller chunks. The main program can contain series of function call statements rather than countless lines of codes. The functions can be reused in multiple programs. The functions can be used to protect the data. And by using functions, different programmers working on large program can divide the workload by writing. Let us see the function prototype declaration. The syntax of the function prototype declaration is the return data type, the function name, and the data type variable 1, comma data type variable 2 until whatever the data you want to pass, the data type and the variable list terminated by a semicolon. Or you can also write it as return type, function name followed by only the data types of the variables terminated by semicolon. Example, void someone void. It indicates that someone is a function which does not take any argument and does not return anything. Second one, sum2 is a function which takes one integer arguments and does not return anything. And sum3 is a function which does not take anything but it returns an integer value. Sum4 is a function which takes one integer argument and returns one integer data. Is prime is a function which takes one integer and returns an integer value. And power is a function which takes two arguments. First is of floating data type, and let us see some notes about these functions. So function name is global. If the function prototype is defined outside the main, so then this function can be used by any functions in the program. The function can return only the basic data type like integer, floating point, character data, etc. Function cannot return explicitly the array. The number of arguments in the function should be same as specified in the prototype. If not, the function behavior will be undefined. The default return type of the function is integer and the default argument type is void. Now let us see what are formal and actual arguments or parameters. So the data which is passed to the function during the function call are called as actual arguments or actual parameters. And the data or variables which receive the data in function definition are called formal parameters. Some of the important points here are when basic data types are passed as argument, it is called as pass by value. That is, a copy of the data is passed to the formal arguments. If any changes are made to these formal arguments, it is not reflected in the called function. When the arrays are passed to the function, it is passed by reference. It is the address of the first element of the array which is passed. So, when the function will work on the actual data, the changes which are made to these formal arguments will be reflected in the called function. So, example for the pass by value you can observe here. Function 1, it takes one argument which is a, and if a is modified to hold a plus 5, then this a which is modified a is available only within the function 1 but not outside where it is called. So let us see some types of functions based on the argument and the return values. So these are classified as 4 categories: functions with no argument and no return type. Second is the functions with argument and no return type. And third is functions with no argument but with a return type. And the last category is functions with argument and with return type. Let us see the example for the first kind, where the function is not taking any argument and it is not returning anything. So here the prototype goes like this. Sum is a function which does not take anything and does not return anything. So it is void sum, the brackets, and it has to be terminated by a semicolon, which is a function prototype or a function declaration. And inside the main, it is just calling the function just by writing the function name with the opening and closing bracket. And when the sum is called, the control will be transferred to the body of the function. And here you can observe that the local variables a, b, c of integer are declared, and you are going to read a and b and perform the sum of a and b and store the result in s and print the value of the sum, and at the end return semicolon. Now the second category is the functions with argument and no return type. Here you can observe that sum is a function which takes two integer arguments but it does not return anything. So in the main, we are going to read the numbers which are to be passed to this function sum by using scanf %d, ampersand a, ampersand b. And to pass these arguments a and b to the function sum, I have to call sum bracket a comma b. When the sum a comma b is called, then the value of a will be copied into the formal parameter a and b value will be copied into the formal parameter b. And inside the sum function, we can see that s is declared and s is equal to a plus b, and printing the sum of a and b is going to take place. And once the body of the sum is completed, then the control will come to the main. Then the return statement get executed. Next is the third category, the functions with no argument and return type. You can observe here sum is a function which does not take anything but returns an integer variable. So when sum is called without argument but it returns the result, so it can be assigned, it is assigned to the variable s, which is declared inside the main, and we are printing the sum as yes. So this is, we are calling the sum function two times. Each time for different values, the a and b are read in the function sum, and you are computing the sum and storing into s1, and that s1 will be returned to the called function. Next, fourth category is function with argument and with return type. So this sum function takes two integer data and it returns an integer result. So the data which are to be passed, we are reading in the main and calling the function sum by passing the expression. You can observe a plus 4 and b star 2 will be the arguments which will be stored into the a and b. And integer s will be locally declared, and s will be holding the values of a plus b, which is written and which will be stored into the variable s, and the sum of these values which are passed as an arguments will be printed in the main. Thank you.